welcome to today's episode of This Fat Girl Life. I have Nicola Mercer on with us today, and we're going to be talking about finding a healthy balance. Before we do that, though, I so appreciate everybody that has supported me in this broadcast journey. And if you would like to continue to support what I'm doing, if you want to see more great content like what I'm doing today, please consider going to buymeacoffee.com/this fat girl life. There you can follow me at no charge and get updates on what I'm doing. That is the site where I post everything first. So you're going to find details about my upcoming book. You're going to find details about my guests, all of it. And if you sign up for a membership, $5 a month, cheaper than what you can get Starbucks for, you can get free downloads of my guided journals that I have over there. So buymeacoffee.com/this fat girl life. Now, like I said earlier, we're talking about finding a healthy balance today. And I brought Nicola Mercer on. She is going to help with this conversation. So, Nicola, thank you so much for being here today.
That's okay, Kimberly. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, before we jump in, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Nicola, and I set up my own health and wellness coaching business about 5 months ago called Life Now Coaching. I'd worked at Nike in a corporate role for just over 20 years, and I was made redundant in March last year. And I had no plan B. I hadn't expected to be made redundant or leave when I did. And I knew that I wanted to do something that was connected with the type of work I did at Nike, which was, really linked with helping people to connect with sport and make sport a daily habit. And when I say sport, I don't mean traditional sport, like football or tennis or basketball. It can be anything, any kind of movement. And because of my own journey with personal and mental and physical health challenges, which I'm sure we will touch on through the conversation, I knew that I wanted to do something connected with health and well-being and helping mainly women to build a healthier, more balanced lifestyle, because I knew from my experience the impact that having healthy habits can have on how happy and well you feel. So yeah, that evolved to me setting up my own business, which has been a huge learning curve, and just really starting to get off the ground with, offering different coaching programs, luckily all online, which a lot of us are really used to now, so that I can work with anybody in the world, like you and I, connected to do this as well.
Wonderful. Well, I mentioned it earlier, we're talking about finding a healthy balance. And so often, especially as women, we take on a multitude of roles. We are an employee usually, whether it be for ourselves or for somebody else. We're still an employee. We are wife, mother, daughter to somebody else. We are trying to manage all of it and still keep our head above water. And it becomes almost like a circus act. It is the juggling act of in the center ring. And we drop the ball. Somewhere along the path, you're going to drop the ball. And with that comes the multitude of feelings of, I have failed. I am not worthy. And especially when you get in that space, everything else seems to go to hell in a handbasket. You quit worrying about if, what you're doing is healthy for you. Because health for every person looks very different.
Yeah.
But you still want to try to maintain. Eating junk food 24 hours a day, probably not the healthiest option. But when we get in that place where we're feeling those icky feelings, as I like to refer to them, we're not worried about what's best for us. Does that would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, in my corporate career, I had a really demanding job, and um, I've got a daughter who was just 14 yesterday, actually. So, I was there when I was pregnant, and then went back after maternity leave and had a young baby. Um, I had a husband, and he used to go to college 2 nights a week for about 3 years. I used to have to be away from home quite a bit. So in the last 7 or 8 years, I used to travel pretty much every week. I live in the northeast of England. I used to travel to London mainly, but other places as well, which were always like 3.5 hours there, the same back. I might stay away a couple of nights a week. So I had a home, everything that goes with that, your washing, cleaning, ironing, food shopping, cooking, kids' activities. You've got your own extended family, you've got friends. Yeah, everything you've said is absolutely true. For women, especially, the list of things we have to do are huge. And we are now in a culture where, for all of the right reasons, women also, want to have a career a lot of the time or work. And the way that society had been, historically, was still quite new, moving away from that. So, in a lot of relationships, the one I had was like this, where I was still the person that had to run the home and the family whilst also having a job and it being a career type job. So yeah, I've talked since leaving Nike about how I felt as though I was caught in a spin cycle of a washing machine. Do you know that you just like that because it doesn't stop?
Mhm.
And there wasn't time, or very often time, to stop and go, this isn't balanced. Like you said, recognizing that I wasn't doing the right things for my health. I did have things that happened because of mental and physical health challenges through the years that caused me to have to go, I can't function basically unless something changes. But generally, yeah, we're just caught on that spin cycle of busyness. And, quite often you might feel happy, you might be thinking, yeah, it's really busy, but it's great. I've got a family, I've got a job, this is just life. You accept it, this is how it is. But there often comes a point where you hit a wall, you burn out, or you do get struck down with an illness or something. And that's then when you go, oh my God, this doesn't feel right. I can't continue like this.
I literally was just having that thought. It's like you read my mind because I did the same thing for quite a while. I was going to school for business, also taking online courses for my coaching certifications,
Mm.
all while working a full time job and doing a side gig from home. And we had just bought a new house. So, my husband and I are trying to do all that. We're still in the midst, we were still in the midst of trying to unpack. We were still trying to get settled. We were trying to do all of it. And I would push myself to a point because I knew, I got bills to pay. I got to handle all this. But at the same time, I'm trying to start my own company because if I'm going to hustle for somebody, I'd rather hustle for myself. And I would literally get to a point where I would make myself physically ill
Mm.
because there wasn't a balance in it. And that is the point with Nicola talking about everything she was doing, me talking about everything I was doing. That's the point of it. Is where do you find that balance? And it's not
Yeah.
even a matter of having to cut things out, but I think it's more prioritizing.
Yeah. So I bet you've heard this saying because it's a very popular one, and I do actually refer to it. There's a saying that says we've all got the same 24 hours in a day as Beyonce, but obviously Beyonce has probably a chef, a fitness trainer, numerous nannies, a housekeeper, a driver, a
Mm-hmm.
PA, all of that. But I think it's the impact of the saying in that yes, our 24 hours will definitely be very different to Beyonce's 24 hours, but every one of us, I think the point the saying tries to make is we all do have 24 hours, but it's the way we can build a structure to manage the 24 hours in the way we want and need. And it's trying to, like you said, prioritize, because I think the challenge I see as well with lots of women is that they feel self-care, which, you know, what I'm teaching isn't just self-care. Self-care is a tiny part, but the thing self-care, being healthy, doing things is just a privilege and not one that they can afford in their life. And actually, sometimes it's approached as a financial challenge as well. Do you know? So they think, well, it's selfish. I can't go and lie in the bath for half an hour because I've got kids or this, and you know. So yeah, it is down, because we do all have, and that's what I try to bring across is I have been and I am a very normal person. I've struggled, you know, I've had commuting to work and being in traffic for an hour to get there, an hour to get home. I've had a sick parent who I had to help look after. I've had, you know, I've got a child with an autoimmune disease. I've had my struggle, you know, I am really normal. And so I can say that you can absolutely find a balance. It does take work to begin with, but when you know why you want it and what you want, and then you've got to just do a bit of work to start off with to prioritize and take those steps, that's when it becomes easier, because you build the habits and you get into a flow. It becomes it has to be part of who you are, you know. So like you mentioned right at the start, one person's healthy lifestyle will be very different to another's, but so long as it's what works for you and you know you are investing in, it's got to be the mental and the physical, you know, then that works for you, and that's going to help you to be as healthy as you possibly can.
Well, and again, I'm so glad you touched on a topic, and that's right where I was going to go, is self care. And I
Mm.
actually have part of my book dedicated to self care because, and I'm not sure we're even told this, but for the longest time myself, even I felt like self care, taking a day for myself, not working, that is my day off from everything, is selfish. And especially, since the pandemic started, we've taken on so many more roles. A
Mm.
lot of women are teachers now, became teachers when the schools were shut down, especially here in the States. We had schools shut down the first year of the pandemic, the rest of that school year. There was a time when, everybody was doing online learning. So the kids trying to learn on a computer how you and I are talking right now,
Yeah.
but with 20 other kids. And, teachers were not always given the right tools to be able to effectively teach. So parents are having to come in and make sure their kids are doing what they're doing as well. And it became so much more. And self-care really went to the wayside.
Mm.
For me, my self-care, give me a day where my husband and I can go get pedicures, get my nails done, go out to dinner. That is my perfect self-care day. Little
Mm.
costly, not gonna lie, but that's how I relax. And
Yeah.
I am aware of this. And so we try to plan that once a month
Mm.
now. But at the beginning of the pandemic, that wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
All the nail salons were closed. Restaurants were takeout only. So in this new pandemic world that we're having to live in and adjust to, I think it becomes important that we find different forms of self care. Like you said,
Yeah.
taking a 30-minute bubble bath with candles and,
Oh yeah,
do
the full
whatever
works.
works for you. Because
Yeah.
for there are women that is not going to work. They hear that and they cringe. But sitting down with headphones and a book and a glass of
Hmm.
wine is their idea of perfection. I think it becomes very important that even if it's just one day a week, that you take 30 minutes to an hour. Nobody else is allowed to bother
Mm.
you. That is your time to do what you need to do to decompress. I think we all need
Mm.
that as women.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're right. And I had a conversation with someone actually last week who has two very young children, and she made it clear that that would actually be virtually impossible for her. And I kind of I get that, and I think if you can have a block of time, great. But what I really advocate is building very small habits for just very simple, easy things. So just something that's popped into my mind, you can kind of see my backdrop here. I have an oil burner here. Putting an oil burner on with a little candle and a lovely smelling wax melt is something that brings me so much pleasure and relaxation. It can be just such simple things. Like I don't get my nails done. I don't go for massages. I'm not indulging and going out doing things like that. The type of things I do are very basic, simple, often free. Like I love to take care of my skin, so popping on a face mask. Whilst normally I might be sitting, on my phone doing something, which is not great. But I've also started to this. Yeah, I tried last year, but couldn't pick the habit up. But I'm trying again to do a bit of journaling. So just thinking maybe three things that I laughed at that day or smiled about, or three
Mm-hmm.
things I'm grateful for, just 10 minutes. So yeah, the self-care thing's really important. Having an overall healthy lifestyle involves lots of different things like good sleep, obviously looking at your stress, relationships, what you eat, how you move, so many things. But all these little simple things of self-care, and it can be really easy to start and implement them. It's amazing how much it has an impact on you. So this is really simple thing. I mentioned I love taking care of my skin, and I do also run a skincare business as part of the company, and I have these tiny little metal ball things on little sticks to
I've
help
seen
your eyes,
those.
yeah, massage your eyes. And I'm getting really paranoid about the puffiness here. So last on Monday, I thought, right, every morning I'm going to massage them for a minute. So I'm going to do it when I've washed my face. I'm going to put a little bit of cream on and massage them. And just for doing that, for probably not even a minute, but just rolling them in the very cold and nice. And it's just that such a simple thing, but it really makes you feel like, oh, that was nice. Do you know, it was easy to do. Yeah, I've had them probably since last year, and they weren't very expensive, equivalent of maybe $12 in US money. But just something that I thought, right, every day I'm going to do that because hopefully it'll help with this. But at the same time, it's that feeling of treating yourself, of investing in you. So if anyone's listening thinking, oh God, I've got the kids, obviously some people have 3 or 4 kids or maybe more, work, lots of different commitments. Yeah, it's like you said, to get a block of time to be able to decompress and maybe reprocess things and get your thoughts aligned is great. But also on top of that, if you are able to do that, still add those just very small things like you said. Find what works for you. Maybe it's picking up a book, maybe it's putting on the radio and just listening to a couple of songs, or playing
Mm-hmm.
your favorite songs from your playlist. But just very simple things that just for a few minutes can just give you that opportunity to just breathe and know that you're important, because that's something I talk about a lot, is the kindness to yourself. When we are wrapped up in that spin cycle, it's often very negative. We're often like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to do this and I'm useless. I can't fit that in. And oh my God, it's all, yeah, like worry and stress, and quite often a lot of, like negativity towards you and your I guess output and your success and everything. So just being like, even if it's okay, I didn't do that, but actually I did this and this. And just those other little moments of self-care, really, it's been scientifically proven, has such a positive impact on your mindset and your overall well-being. And all of that can actually also help your physical health, because it does affect your cardiovascular system, your immune system. So yeah, just very small things that will just eventually fit into your day, and it'll be part of who you are and what you do.
And it's so funny that you mentioned some of that because I actually, um, probably a year ago, I did my first guided journal that I self published. And it's actually on that Buy Me a Coffee sign if anybody's interested. But it's about writing letters to yourself. It's
That's
just a little
nice.
5-day thing that you can repeat over and over if you want. But it has a letter of forgiveness, forgiving yourself for something. It's not make a huge list of everything you've ever done wrong because all that's going to do is destroy you. But find one area where you're struggling and just forgive yourself. One of them is writing a love letter to yourself. And that's something that I actually learned about when I was in a residential rehab program. And I still have that love letter 8 years later. And every once in a while, when I'm really struggling, I'll pull it out and read it. And it takes, 2 minutes to read this letter, but there's such a different feeling afterwards. So, if anybody is interested, just as a quick little special offer, I wasn't even planning on doing this, but if anybody is watching this episode, send me a private message and I will give you a free copy, a free PDF download of the letters to my self guided journal. Normally, I
Oh,
charge $2 for it, but
send
if
that to me.
anybody is watching this, please send me a private
Mm.
message. I'll give it to you for free right now because
Oh,
I think it's important.
that's amazing, Kimberly. And actually, that's something I do want as well. But I started a coaching program for myself before I left Nike to help me with my lack of confidence and self-doubt. And one of the things I had to do in there was to write a letter to myself for 12 months' time and write it, imagining where I would be and thanking myself for everything that I'd done. And oh God, it was so impactful. And obviously there's a bit of dreaming in there, like I was writing about,
Mhm.
you've built a business and you're helping women and you're doing this, and you've really built your confidence, and now you can, because I couldn't have spoke like this 12 months ago. I had a great job and I was in corporate, but I was so petrified of speaking. I would never even put a selfie on Instagram. I just wasn't that person. And so yeah, just that's lovely to think the impact that letter had for you 8 years ago and still does today. Just something so simple. And I follow Mel Robbins a lot. I don't know if you watch Mel. She's like,
Love,
yeah,
love,
God.
love.
And the cat, when she talks about how, like, you are the person you're going to spend the most time with in your life. You're the person that's going to carry you through your life, yet you're the person that you're often the most horrible towards. Like, you need to look at yourself, all of the looking in yourself in the mirror and high-fiving yourself, and seeing that you have strengths. And that, I mean, honestly, the things that I've picked up from her, I've really got into, watching her videos, and I've got her 2 books, and it's a lot of stuff that I was trying to bring into my coaching, and she's just really helped me to like see it much clearer. But yeah, we've got to be nicer to ourselves and not see it as being indulgent, selfish, thinking it's out of our reach, either from a financial or a time point of view. Everyone's different, and for some people it might be just the smallest, simplest things, like lighting that oil burner, just taking a couple of minutes to breathe the smell in, or just know it's in the room while you're getting ready for bed. To you,
Mhm.
taking a day a month, if you can, with your husband to go to a spa, which, oh my God, that sounds like my idea of heaven.
We're
um
actually
yeah.
doing it on the 31st
Oh.
simply because one, that's my birthday. But Mondays is his guaranteed day off. It's the day that I schedule off from
Mhm.
the world. So I get to spend my birthday
Oh.
full of self care.
Uh-huh. Amazing.
I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
just find your thing, to the people who are watching. Yeah, just look at what's nice for you, and maybe actually you might realize that you are already doing some things, and perhaps you've missed that, and even that in itself is a good thing, just to go, actually, do you know what, I never really thought about that. But the fact that maybe I do have a bath, or maybe I do pick up a book before bed every night, or, something else. But actually just acknowledging that, yeah, do you know what? I am helping to feel better, and I am taking a bit of time. Even that has another positive effect, the fact that you're acknowledging and almost thanking yourself for doing those things to yourself. Yeah, so it, it is hard. I get it's hard, but try and just take really small steps. Like, obviously tomorrow's Monday. Maybe think about what could you do this week? Like, what's one small thing? Maybe it's just drinking a glass of water as soon as you get out of bed. Maybe it's switching the phone off 15 minutes earlier to just think about your day and just reflect. Just what one little thing could you do this week? Because that can have a profound effect after just a few days.
I completely agree. Well,
Mm.
Nicola, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and having this conversation. I have loved being able to talk with you. I do have one final question for you, and I will be asking this question of every guest this season. We've talked about self care, we've talked about not losing our worth in the process of life. But one of the things that I love to be able to do every once in a while is we refer to it here in the States as paying it forward. So this week, what is one thing you can do to make somebody else's day better?
Oh, I like that question. Um, well, so there is something that I've kind of done ready for this week, but maybe, as I say, this could help other people. So I know two ladies who run a coaching business, and they're the ones that have helped me with my self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And they're running a free challenge this week. And this is not a promo, I don't have to give any details, but um, I've got a couple of friends who I know are really struggling, and I've suggested that they go to that this week, and that I would connect with them tomorrow to make sure that they've got the details. It's like a 5-day thing. I'm doing it again because I did it last year, and it massively helped me to just have this kind of, light bulb moment. So I think I've got a free Facebook group as well with women in there, and I haven't put it in there yet. That's what I'm going to do, is share it with that wider group. So I've got nearly 200 women in the group, because, it is so damaging the way that we speak to ourselves and the lack of self-belief that so many of us have. So if I can pay that forward and share my experience and say, look, it's just going to be an hour of your time a night. These two women are hilarious as well. They have really quite funny sense of humour, lots of language and jokes and things. So if you're easily offended, it's not for you. But they really do tap into helping you to have that belief, and that absolutely kickstarted my belief that I could set up my own business and do what it is I want to do now. So, I want other women to join this and just get what they can over the next 5 days from it, to feel so much stronger in who they are, and not continuously let that voice, that subconscious voice, prevent them from living the life that they want to live.
I love that, and I may have to check that out. Well,
Yeah, I'll
again, I
share
want
it
to
on my
thank you.
social media.
Perfect, perfect, because I follow you on social media, so that works. Well, again, I want to thank you for being here. And I want to thank everybody who is watching or listening for, again, being here, for supporting what I'm doing. As a final reminder, if you would like a free copy of my guided journals, Letters to Myself, in the comments, write letters or send me a private message with the word letters, and I will get you a free copy of that. Again, thank you. I will be back next week, and I hope you have an amazing day, guys.
Thanks, Kimberly.